Hey, Rachel. Yes, absolutely. Resend your email address and we'll get it going. I'm at jeff@bemoreeveryday.com or throw it into the chat. You can send it just to me if you don't want everybody to see it publicly, but absolutely, we'll send those over. So that's a good chance for a recap. So the files that I'm looking to send over to anybody that doesn't have them is we're going to start with the begin with the end in mind. I call it set your destination, right? Because when we're picking our goals, we can't be relevant in order to pick long-term goals unless we know what our long-term goals are and then reverse them to the 5-year to the 1 year in order to make sure that you're on track and relevant. So that's the first worksheet that we'll send out for this week. And then we were talking about being intentional about your activities and creating them and turning them into a habit. And so if we want to be intentional and turn something into a habit, you want to make sure that you're tracking your habits. So I came up with what I call the 77-day habit tracker. There have been 66-day ones in the past, but we realized that sometimes you need to be able to give yourself a little bit of grace. And so if we're giving ourselves grace, there's a chance that we don't actually hit it every single day. And that's going to be okay as long as you are doing it more days than not, and you're tracking and setting intention as to what time it is that you're doing it that day. Then eventually these activities that we're doing, that we're compounding, are going to turn into habits, and they're going to help us to become successful. So that's the second sheet. And then the third sheet is, this is one of the things that we're going to talk about today. One of the third things I want to make sure that we get out to people is this idea of horribilize it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that more today. For those that are joining us live on Facebook or on LinkedIn, did want to throw out our website, bemoredaily.com. Anybody joining us here on the call, on the Zoom as well. And bemoredaily.com, we're going to have a few different things that we're tracking at bemoredaily.com. And the first one is you can go in and enter your goal for the day. What's the thing that's going to make you win today? How are you going to make the main thing the main thing? So go to bemoredaily.com and put it in. You can come onto the call and announce it to everybody and then tell us how you did, or you can enter it on the website, or you can do both and then come back and tell us, how did it go? And that's the other button on the website. If you haven't joined us yet and you'd like to join the Zoom and actually get into the live conversations with other people and talking through the obstacles, you can also register to join there. We'll get your email address. We'll add you to the calendar appointment and bring you into the conversation. You can actually join for this part on the Zoom call and for the part for the discussion that we hit next. So let's get started. What do you think about that, guys? So today, I should actually be quoting a guy that's been a mentor of mine, and he's been a coach of mine over the years, who really came up with the Horribilize phrase. But the first guy we're going to quote today is, the fear of loss is greater than the desire for gain. And that's Zig Ziglar. And I've got a feeling that anybody here on this call has already felt that way. Y'all ever realize that sometimes you will work harder to not lose something than you will to gain even double or triple or quadruple that? You know, the example I traditionally use is, if you walk down the street and you see a $50 bill sitting on the ground and you pick it up, you're happy for a moment. You might tell a couple people about it. But if you open your wallet and you realize that $50 bill that you stuck in it is all of a sudden gone, 2 weeks down the road, you never spent it, but it's missing. What do? Right? Like, you'd spend hours tearing through your closet, checking all your jeans, your jackets, the couch, the car, looking for it. How often do we, spend an hour just to find the TV remote for when we were just planning to watch a half-hour show, right? Like losing something is often a greater encourager, so to speak. It's greater incentive than the idea of gaining something. And so, anybody on the call can jump up and answer this question in a moment. But we got to realize that sometimes gaining is not inspiring, right? Sometimes to gain is not inspiring. Sometimes we've written down a goal that we think is the goal that we want to see happen, and we realize that even our own goal that we wrote down, it's I don't want to say it's what the world expects of us, it's what our family expects of us. And sometimes the goal that we've written down doesn't inspire us. It's not something that we've been able to, as we mentioned yesterday, connect with. And as a result, we've got a tough time getting into motion as we go towards it. I had a client a few years ago that, as we were trying to break down his future goals, he mentioned that somebody had helped him and his wife at an early point in his career, get in vitro fertilization, and that's where their first child came from. That thank you to that person. And they wanted to pay that forward. Since then, they'd been able to afford it themselves a couple extra times, and they wanted to pay that forward. And they made it a goal in their life that part of the reason they wanted to be able to make a certain amount of money was to pay it forward. In fact, Diana Kokoska, a mentor of mine, just had a TED Talk this past week on one of the reasons to make money is for what you can do for others. It's kind of a call of ours. And so sometimes, though, what we've written down, we haven't connected to something that's inspiring. And if we haven't connected to something that's inspiring for us, guess what? It's going to be a really hard time to hit that goal. So let's work our way through the rest of the slides here. So have you ever had a goal? Feel free to come off of mute, any of you, and help answer this question. But have you ever had a goal that you didn't connect with? Anybody ever have something that they were working on that just never quite connected?
Yes, I have struggled to connect with revenue goals.
Okay. Yeah. So same type of thing. Like the revenue goal is written down, and to some degree, it's just some random number that's out there that that doesn't feel like the real number that hits the heart. Yeah. Well, good. Thank you for sharing. Exactly what we're talking about. So perfect. Anyone else? Michael, sorry you were coming off of mute.
Yeah. Am I off?
Yep.
Okay. When I was doing title and appraisal for 19 years, my boss obsessed on getting into a certain bank in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted everyone to try to do appointments to get in there. But I wasn't thrilled about it because the price point that we had to hit to get in that bank, we were going to lose money at.
Yeah.
And so we spent a lot of resources on an account that wasn't going to make the company any money.
Yeah.
But he wanted it for bragging rights.
Yeah, I totally get that. And those that have been in corporate America do too. I can't count the number of times that, in fact, I I tell a story sometimes. The longest write-up that I ever got was for not really pushing in my stores as a district manager, pushing just some superfluous goal, right? Like it didn't matter for our rankings. It didn't matter for finance. It didn't matter for anything. It was something that they had tracked for years, and they wanted to keep tracking it. And because it didn't matter for anything, I told my stores to stop doing it. And all of a sudden I got this big write-up because I had 30 stores that weren't doing it. But it didn't mean anything. It literally meant nothing. It was tracking empty boxes. And I'm like, why? Why are we wasting all this time on this? And so, yes, 100%. Sometimes we write something down that, again, it's not relevant. It's not the main thing. It's not the big thing. And we don't want to get moving forward because of it. So thank you all for sharing that. Totally valid stuff. So here we go. We're going to jump through it because sometimes when we have those types of goals, we just don't gain any traction. And sometimes, even though we know that it's a goal we need, we know what it's going to be able to do for our family, sometimes still we don't gain traction as we go to it. And that's because sometimes we run from the pain, and other times there are people that the pain keeps them frozen, right? So you realize that you're in a space in your life that is not where you want to be, and yet there's a fear that you're bumping into, and that fear makes us nervous. And sometimes that fear will encourage us to move forward, and sometimes that fear makes us stuck. And so if fear is something that makes you stuck, or if the goal is, again, not something that you really connect to or is really attractive to you, I'm going to give you a way to think about it, to flip the script. And this is the other worksheet that we're going to send out, by the way. So bemoredaily.com. If I don't have your email address, give me your email address and we'll move from there. And so this particular worksheet, it's horribilizing it, because what we really need to know is that the greatest pain actually comes from doing nothing at all, right? Like sitting on the couch is easy. And yet I guarantee you, the longer and longer I sit on the couch, the more painful it is when I get up, right? Right. If I do it too many hours in a month, it's going to get a lot more painful over the course of the next year, 18 months, 3 years, 5 years, right? Getting moving is painful. And the more I get moving, the easier that gets over time. Sometimes as we move out of our comfort zone, we're moving into the good things. And that's because when we're stuck in our comfort zone, the magic happens elsewhere, right? Because as I'm sitting in my comfort zone, we can see that magic happening for others out there. And yet I'm still in my own little bubble, my own little circle. And what we realize is that's because there's a wall between us and the comfort zone. And that's that fear, that's that pain. It's the wall that we're sitting in. And what we really want to know is what's over the other side of that wall. What pleasure am I getting? What excuses am I making for myself for standing still right now? And those excuses have to be worth more than all the other stuff I can gain on the other side, or why would I be here, right? Like, we've got to just think it's the best part for us. And if we don't think that, if we realize that, again, staying in our comfort zone is really where the pain is, what are we missing by not crossing over that fear and the pain, right? What are all the things that won't happen for us if we don't make the main thing the main thing? And so that's the exercise. The exercise is 2 ways that I would encourage y'all to do if you have a goal that you're not moving towards. The exercise is really 2 things. And the 2 things for this exercise that I want you to think about as we work to jump over the wall, right, and into where the magic happens, the 2 things I really want you to consider and think about are, A, what are all the things that will not happen if I don't hit these goals? All right. Some of you have vacation plans. Some of you have retirement plans. Some of you have investment plans. Some of you have large businesses that people count on you at, right? Some of you have people that work for you that you know that if you don't hit the goals, they're not going to be able to hit their goals. And we've got kids that we got to put in college, right? Like, we could lose our house, our cars, everything. If we don't continue to get out there and make the money that we need. That's horribilizing it. So list all the things that could happen by just staying still and not getting it done. And the other side that I want you to think about is to call out that fear and really consider what's the worst that could happen. I mentioned on the first day, me jumping on these calls is a nervous thing for me. It's not the most exciting thing for me. Putting out live calls to a internet that I can't see people and can't hear their reactions and don't get any feedback is nervous for me. And you know what? The more you do it and rip that Band-Aid off, the more confident you get. And the more you do it, the more confident you get. The more you do it, you realize it doesn't really matter. Not a single person has commented on those posts in the past week. And I don't even know if they're not watching, because it doesn't matter, because I know that the content's good. And I know that people are watching. I mean, there's 300 views or whatever, right? But again, like, I don't know who those people are. And they haven't said anything. And let's just hope that it's good things that they're thinking and they're seeing, and this is helping to affect them. And that's 99% of the time the way I walk into a situation that's uncomfortable. I think to myself, if it even helps one person, it's worth it for me. And so for me, that little thought has always helped me get out of the chair, so to speak, get off the couch and take that step forward. And so, just to end that quote for you today, here, we'll hit that button so you can see it. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. And I think that's a super, super valid thought to just walk into the rest of our call with. is that realizing that, yes, the first time is scary. Yes, the first time I'm feeling those butterflies. I'm taking a step that I'm not familiar with. And you know what? It's probably going to be scary the second time and the third time and the fourth time and the fifth time too. And, you know, somewhere out there at some point, it becomes a part of your identity and you're no longer scared by it. It's something that you do and other people look at it and say, you know, I never would have guessed that was never you at some point in time. And so take that first step, be the person that takes the first step, and you'll find yourself on the way to hitting your goals. All right. There's the motivational moment for today. Again, if you all want to join the live call that we're jumping into right now, bemoredaily.com, and we'll get an appointment out for you to join us the next time